What's the juiciest secret you accidentally found out? Reddit stories. Story 1. The salary email nobody was meant to see. One day at work, I opened my email like usual and noticed something strange. An HR assistant had accidentally sent me a spreadsheet. At first, I thought it was just some random company file. But when I opened it, my jaw actually dropped. It listed every single employee's salary in the entire company. Interns, supervisors, managers, directors, even the CEO. I suddenly knew exactly who was underpaid and who was secretly making way more money than everyone assumed. The wild part? Nobody realized the mistake for hours. I never replied, never forwarded it, never mentioned it. But let's just say it permanently changed how I viewed office fairness. Story 2. The secret meeting I was never supposed to join. At one company I worked for, I accidentally joined a meeting invite that clearly wasn't meant for me. It was a high-level corporate call, executives only. Nobody questioned why I was there, so I just stayed quiet and listened. About 10 minutes in, I realized they were discussing buying one of our biggest competitors. Not rumors, not speculation, a full acquisition plan months before it would be announced publicly. At the end of the meeting, someone finally noticed my name. The next thing I knew, HR called me in and asked me to sign a very serious NDA. Apparently, I just overheard a billion-dollar secret. Story 3. The affair hidden in the parking lot. At my old office, my cubicle had a perfect view of the parking lot. And after a while, I started noticing something strange. Every lunch break, my boss would leave through one door. A coworker from another department would leave through another. They'd wander around the parking lot separately, then suddenly meet at his car and drive off together. At first, I thought it was coincidence, but it happened almost every day. Eventually, I overheard one of her phone calls where she said, "I'm ready." That's when it clicked. They thought they were being discreet, but honestly, they were the most obvious secret affair I've ever seen. Story 4. The company laptop disaster. One day at work, I had to check a company laptop that belonged to one of my employees. When I opened the files, I found a folder. Inside it, photos and videos of him with the receptionist. The problem? He was married, and the files were saved on a company device. Even worse, there was another folder, screenshots of messages between him and his wife about their upcoming divorce. When I called him into my office and told him what I'd seen, the color drained from his face instantly. I told him to delete everything and never store that stuff on company devices again. The relief on his face was unbelievable. The secret marriage. At work, we had two coworkers who barely interacted. Different departments, different teams, nothing suspicious. Until one day, I noticed something weird in the company directory. Their emergency contact names were exactly the same, a super unusual name. Curious, I casually asked them about it later. They looked at each other for about 3 seconds, then burst out laughing. Turns out, they'd been secretly married for years and just liked keeping their work and personal lives separate. Story 6. The tattoo that broke my brain. I worked in a retail electronics store with a manager who was extremely strict and professional. Perfect posture, always serious, very corporate. One day we were cleaning up a display when she bent over to pick something up, and that's when I saw it, a massive tattoo across her lower back, the biggest one I'd ever seen. The contrast between her ultra-professional personality and that tattoo completely short-circuited my brain. I never told anyone, but it definitely changed how I saw her. Story 7. The Facebook messages. Years ago, I was dating a guy who had been my brother's best man at his wedding. After we broke up, I logged into his Facebook account. That's when I saw the messages between him and my sister-in-law. They weren't just flirting. They were talking about having a baby together and letting my brother raise it as his own. I screenshotted everything and sent it straight to my brother. That marriage didn't last much longer. Story 8. The lawyer show. People always think courtroom lawyers genuinely hate each other. The shouting, the insults, the aggressive arguments. But someone I know who works in law revealed the truth. Most of the time, those lawyers walk out of court and go grab sushi or a beer together afterward. Apparently, the hostility is often just a performance for their clients. Once you know that, courtroom drama suddenly feels very different. Story 9. The ads that gave away a proposal. I lived with a friend who was dating his girlfriend for years. One day, my internet started showing me ads for engagement rings, non-stop. I thought my account got hacked or something. Then I realized something. We shared the same Wi-Fi, and every device in the house had ad tracking. My friend had been secretly browsing engagement rings. That's how I accidentally discovered he was planning to propose. Story 10. The Hidden Affair in City Hall. A municipal planner once discovered a shocking reason for being fired. Officially, it was poor performance, but later they learned something wild. A county council member was secretly dating the mayor. Both of them were married, just not to each other. A staffer had accidentally walked into the office late one night and caught them together. After that, the planner who had been questioning a shady development project suddenly lost their job. Coincidence? Probably not. Story 11. The Secret Family. A guy in his 50s discovered something shocking about his mother. Before she met his father, she was already married, with 4 children. When she met his dad, she ran away with him, and never spoke to those 4 kids again. He only found out decades later. Story 12. The Grandma's Secret. Someone researching their family tree found something strange. Their step-grandmother seemed oddly interested in a man in town. Turns out, he was actually her biological son. She had secretly given him up for adoption decades earlier. Nobody else in the family knew. Story 13. The Politician Hypocrisy. A state politician spent years publicly campaigning against gambling, talking about how harmful it was, how it should be restricted. Years later, someone discovered his tax returns. They showed thousands of dollars in gambling income. Story 14. The Dating Group Exposure. Someone discovered their brother-in-law was being talked about in online dating groups. Not once, not twice, every few months. Apparently, dozens of women had stories about him cheating. The family already suspected he wasn't loyal, but seeing that many people talk about it confirmed everything. Story 15. The Secret That Stayed Hidden. One Reddit user said the biggest secret they ever learned wasn't scandalous at all. It was something quietly sad. Their parents weren't married when they were born. They only found out years later, but their parents had spent their entire lives acting like the perfect traditional couple. Sometimes the secrets that hit hardest are the ones that quietly reshape how you see your whole life. The teacher's double life. Back in high school, we had a history teacher who everyone respected. He was calm, polite, always dressed neatly, and honestly seemed like the most responsible adult in the building. One day, a friend of mine was browsing social media and suddenly froze. He turned his phone around and said, "You need to see this." There was our teacher, but not in a classroom. He had an entire online persona as a local nightclub DJ. Photos, videos, event posters, the whole thing. Apparently, every weekend he was performing at clubs around the city. The crazy part? None of the students knew. None of the teachers talked about it either. Monday to Friday, he was the quiet history teacher. Friday night, he was performing in front of hundreds of people. Story 17. The Mysterious Locked Drawer. At one office I worked at, there was a manager who had a drawer in his desk that was always locked. Always. Even when he stepped away for 2 minutes, he locked it. Naturally, everyone became curious. One day he forgot to lock it before leaving early. A coworker opened it, expecting something dramatic. Inside, snacks. Just an enormous stash of snacks. Chocolate bars, chips, cookies. Turns out he hid them because the entire office had a habit of stealing food from people's desks. The secret wasn't scandalous, just extremely relatable. Story 18. The Accidental Email Reply. At my old job, someone accidentally hit reply all on a company-wide email. Instead of responding privately, they wrote, "Why do we keep pretending this plan will work? It's clearly a disaster." That email went to over 200 employees, including the CEO. Within minutes, everyone's inbox exploded. People trying to recall messages, managers asking what happened, IT scrambling to stop the email chain. The funniest part, a lot of employees quietly agreed with the message. Story 19. The Family Secret at Christmas. During a big family Christmas dinner, my cousin got a little too curious and decided to do one of those online DNA tests. A few weeks later, the results came back, and something didn't add up. According to the test, his father wasn't biologically related to him. At first, everyone thought the test must be wrong, but after a long, uncomfortable conversation, the truth finally came out. His mother had kept a secret for over 20 years. Christmas dinner was never quite the same after that. Story 20. The Broken Printer. At my workplace, we had a printer that constantly broke. Paper jams, error messages, random shutdowns. Everyone blamed the machine. Until one day, IT opened it up. Inside, they found dozens of tiny folded papers stuck in different areas. Turns out a coworker had been secretly printing personal documents and hiding them inside the printer whenever someone walked by. It was just being used as a terrible hiding spot. Story 21. The apartment next door. When I moved into a new apartment building, the neighbor across the hall barely spoke to anyone. Very quiet guy, always polite, but distant. One night the police showed up. Apparently he had been working undercover for years as part of a major investigation. None of the neighbors had any idea. For 3 years we had been living next to someone whose real job nobody knew. Story 22. The fake promotion. A coworker once told everyone they got promoted to a management role at another company. Big celebration, farewell party, goodbye speeches. Months later, someone who knew people at that company discovered something strange. There was no management position there. Turns out, he had actually been fired from our job and was too embarrassed to admit it. Story 23. The hidden lottery ticket. A guy at work once told us he accidentally found something unbelievable. His dad had been cleaning out an old jacket and discovered a lottery ticket in the pocket. At first, he almost threw it away. Then he decided to check it. It was worth several $1,000s. The ticket had been sitting in that jacket for nearly a year. Story 24. The secret office relationship. In one company I worked at, 2 coworkers absolutely hated each other in meetings. They argued constantly, disagreed on everything. Everyone assumed they couldn't stand each other. Then one night, a few employees ran into them at a restaurant. They were holding hands. Turns out they had been secretly dating for months. Apparently their arguments at work were just part of their weird dynamic. Story 25. The folder on the computer. Someone once borrowed their coworker's computer to send an email. While looking through the desktop, they noticed a folder labeled Taxes. Curiosity got the better of them. Inside the folder were dozens of documents, but none of them were tax files. Instead, it was an entire collection of unfinished novel chapters. Their coworker had secretly been writing a book during lunch breaks for years. Nobody in the office knew. Sometimes the biggest secrets aren't scandals. Sometimes they're just quiet dreams people keep to themselves.
Consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video and if you want to see more of Reddit Universe.